we move into looking at some of the biggest stories that are occupying mind space across the nation and stirring a lot of debate, viewers. Over the last few weeks, Times Now has been focused on investigating the version that you have not been told about both Karoli and Khargone. Now, viewers, both these areas witnessed strife. Witnessed strife after Ram Navami processions were targeted. Viewers, in Karoli, because of Times Now's investigation, it has become clear that the state almost abetted the riots. In Khargone, viewers, you have only been told one side of the story. Khargone, of course, is in Madhya Pradesh. You have been told that in the state, the chief minister there has taken out a bulldozer, weaponized it against the minority community, and decided to dispense instant justice by razing the homes of those his government has arbitrarily deemed rioters. Now, viewers, we can, of course, argue whether the use of bulldozers constitutes extrajudicial justice. That's a separate point. But to suggest that those who are being targeted are completely innocent would also be, viewers, an exaggeration. This is because there is another side, an untold side of the Khargone story. No media organization in the Latvian superset is going to put that out for you, viewers. But Times Now has sent its special investigation team into the heart of Khargone, which is still extremely tense. Now, after a mob, viewers, pelted their homes and razed their shops on Ram Navami, the devotees of Ram in Khargone have been living under a dark shadow of fear. Times Now has waded through the dust and rubble left behind by the riotous mob and has unearthed 3 testimonies, just 3 of the many, viewers, of why people want to flee their homes. We also get you videos of how terrified Ram Bhaks locked themselves inside their homes while mobs pelted stones at them from the outside. Viewers, we have no way of ascertaining the identity of those who were targeting the homes of the devotees. But we have been able to speak to some of those who were living in those homes and some of those who are today wanting to leave their homes, putting up for sale notices on their walls and their doors. Viewers, it's very important to balance stories. In the past, in the context, for example, of the Gujarat riots, sections of the media exposed what they believed was Hindu tyranny. At that time, viewers, no one accused them of sparking a backlash or communalizing the coverage of a riot. This was the bounden duty of the press. And that duty is to tell the story as objectively as possible. Times Now has never underlined the use of bulldozers, viewers, on the homes of those who are merely categorized as guilty by the state without due process. We will never underwrite that. But we will also not underwrite the silence. The silence that is accompanied the narrative in the mainstream media. And that silence, viewers, is about the tyranny inflicted upon those who were peacefully marking Ram Navami, celebrating their devotion to their Lord. Now, first hear, viewers, first hear these testimonies of residents of specific neighborhoods in Khargone who found that their homes were attacked and that they became the victims of prejudice. These testimonies, viewers, have been brought to us by our special investigation team that is in Khargone right now, by Govt, our reporter. Listen in.
सर अब मैं यहाँ रहना नहीं चाहता हूँ।
क्यों?
सर ये विगत 90 से मेरे साथ हमारे साथ में बार बार ये घटना हो रही है, बार बार हो रही है।
तो कौन लोग हैं जो इस तरह, अब पहले तो आपका नाम बताइए।
मेरा नाम दुर्गेश पवार है।
दुर्गेश पवार। तो कौन लोग हैं जो इस तरह की हरकत करते हैं?
सर ये मुस्लिम समुदाय के लोग हैं। सामने ये अभी जो प्लाट कटा है यहाँ पे ये नए सिरे से लोगों बसे हैं।
अच्छा।
और ज्यादातर यही लोग परेशान।
तो कई लोग ऐसा देखा है हमने, कई लोग लिख रहे हैं मकान।
वो इसी कारण सर अब यहाँ से इनकी आबादी ज्यादा हो गई है और ये वार त्योहार कुछ भी होता है तो भय का वातावरण बन जाता है।
आज ये बताओ कि किन लोगों ने ये सब किया? पूरा तहस नहस देख रहे हैं हम, पूरा प्रशासनिक हमला।
पूरे मोहल्ले वाले आ गए थे, एकाएकी का पेट्रोल आखिरी में मेरे घर को जलाया।
अच्छा।
और मेरे बच्चे और हम परिवार।
कौन लोग हैं ये? कौन लोग हैं
ये सब मोहल्ले के परिवार वाले, सब मोहल्ला का लोग थे। हम इनका सारा से अंदर छिपा रहे कि भाई ऐसा नहीं होगा, पर इन्होंने आखिरी में हमारे घर पर एकदम पेट्रोल डाल दियो, आग लग गई। तो उधर से क्या पुलिस वाले भी यार उनके नजर पड़ी क्या मालूम, उन्होंने हमारे घर को बुझायो भी और हमारा ढोरने का भी छोड़ा कि भाई किसान मनुष्य टप्पर जड़ोगे ढोर जड़ जाएगा, तो उन्होंने बचा दियो उन्हें।
अनीता ये बताइए कि आपको पता है क्या किसने क्या कुछ किया?
ये यहाँ के मोमिडन आते हैं, सब यही लोग आते हैं और हर बार हमारा एक बार नहीं 4 बार जब भी करना कर्फ्यू लगा, जब भी हमारे घर उनका नुकसान हुआ, यहाँ से लगा के ये 4-5 घर उनको ये मुद्दा बना लिया है।
Viewers, these are the residents of Khargone in Madhya Pradesh. On Times Now, you have been hearing over the last 1 week testimonies of the residents of Karoli, which is in Rajasthan. But unfortunately, their voices have been suppressed, viewers, suppressed by the larger ecosystem that only wants to suggest that Ram Navami violence was instigated by one side. Khargone, you have been watching for the last 1 week our continuous focus on Karoli, which has resulted, of course, in a national debate around that particular conflagration. But less is known about Khargone. Now, viewers, as we showed you, there are a large number of people belonging to one particular denomination that want to leave Khargone. They say they live in fear. Now, watch what fear really looks like. Watch how certain individuals intent upon peacefully observing an important day in their religious calendar found themselves on the receiving end of a mob pelting stones and trying to bring down their home. Watch these pictures for a few seconds, viewers. You're already getting a glimpse of them in the top right-hand corner of your screens. We're going to now go full screen to those pictures. Watch this. We'll also up the net. Well, viewers, you saw those pictures, and that has prompted a large number of individuals to leave their homes. There you can see the writing is on the wall, pretty much. A large number of homes now bearing visibly the for sale plaque, written sometimes out by hand. Ye makan bikau hai. That's what's written there, viewers. There have, of course, more proof of how it was raining, not just stones, but even bullets. Not just the SP in uniform, even a 16-year-old boy wasn't spared. This is Shivam. He received a bullet injury to his head. This boy is now battling for his life, and that too in one of the country's top hospitals. Times Now also spoke to the DM of Khargone, who on camera confirms that certain individuals who were peacefully observing their religious customs fear that they may be attacked again. Listen in.
घरों में बेतहाशा इतनी हिमाकत हो जाती है कि घरों में घुसते हैं, आग लगा देते हैं।
मैंने आगे जो है 1-2 फैमिलीज भी देखा है जहां दोनों समुदाय के लोग पास पास में रहते हैं और अभी भी रह रहे हैं। यहाँ है, छोड़ के नहीं गए। वो लोग बता रहे हैं मैडम हम तो कुछ है मतलब शांति के साथ रहते हैं, यहाँ दूसरे मोहल्ले के लोग या कहीं और के लोग आके हमारे ऊपर हमला किया है, ये तो गलत है। ठीक है, सो ये जो इनके बीच में समन्वय तो अच्छे हैं, तो ये लोग जो किया है ये बदमाश है।
अच्छा, दूसरा इस पर राजनीति तो चली रही, आप देख रहे हैं, क्या एक तरफा कार्रवाई की जा रही प्रशासन की, या जो दोषी हैं, आरोपी हैं, उनको जेन्युइनली रिकॉग्नाइज किया जा रहा है? और
जी जो भी कार्रवाई चलती है, मैं आप लोग से ये आश्वासन कर रही हूँ, जितने भी अतिक्रमण हम तोड़ रहे हैं उसकी जो है जैसे मुख्यतः गवर्नमेंट लैंड पर है।
Well, there you heard it, viewers. Till now, and I want to focus now on some quotes from the opposition. What has the opposition been saying? They've not been focusing on this aspect. They've been focusing on the bulldozers that have been used by the Shivraj Chauhan government, the BJP-led government in Madhya Pradesh, to bring down the houses of the guilty, the alleged guilty. Viewers, they've been saying that that reeks of overreach. They may or may not be wrong in making that assumption, viewers, but that doesn't detract from the horrors that were visited upon certain individuals, certain communities on the ground who today are crying out for justice. Why has this side of the story been deliberately suppressed? Those are some fundamental questions. Why is it that the bulldozer assault has been slammed, but the talwar and tamancha terror has been suppressed? Fundamental question. Let's open this up. I want to go straight across to Varis Pathan. Mr. Pathan, your leader has come out and talked about an organized attempt to target one particular community, the minority community, that these Ram Navami marches have been used, you have said, weaponized to create sectarian violence. But here, the truth seems to be a lot different. Why are you trying to fearmonger, distort the truth? What interests are you trying to serve?
Well, Rahul, first and foremost, today is a very happy day for us, movement for joy for us, as our party leader Akbaruddin Owaisi has been exonerated from all the charges, and he has been acquitted by this special court under the MP and the MLA Act for his alleged hate speech. I am thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the people of the country who prayed for him. It's a big slap on the face of the people who were targeting him time and again on his hate speeches. Now, coming on the present situation of Khargone, let me tell you, Rahul, totally, whether it is Rajasthan or whether it is Madhya Pradesh, the state government has totally failed in preventing the law and order situation in the respective states. Why? Because when the permission for a procession is given, the responsibility of the state to ensure that a peaceful procession goes. But here what happened was, the procession while passing from a masjid stops there, shouts, slogans. They just sing songs like Mulle Topi Dadi Wale Ek Din Jai Shri ke naare lagayenge. Provocation is given. One of the guys, he jumps on the minaret.
In Khargone there was none. No, one second.
So
in Khargone and Karoli. No, one second. I'm not going to allow you to get away with a generalization, with absolute distortion of the facts. Now you tell me, in Karoli did that happen? No, because I have the FIR in which the police mentions, 1 minute, the police mentions that the procession was peaceful and it was not inciting violence. It is specifically written there in the FIR. So what are you talking about, Mr. Varis Pathan? Why are you lying on national TV? And let me also tell you, sir, I hope you congratulate. No, I hope you congratulate.
7 states.
No, 1 second. I hope first that you congratulate Times Now for doing a fantastic job of uncovering the truth, but you don't, because it's not palatable to you, sir.
No.
You want to sit here.
What truth are you uncovering?
No, you want to sit here
Allow
and
me,
play
what truth are you
the
uncovering?
role of Narad
You are
Muni.
being selective.
I want to tell you another thing.
You are being selective.
No,
Mr.
I'm not
Rahul
being selective
Shivshankar.
at all.
I
Is
have
the
got
FIR wrong?
Hundreds of videos
If
with
the
me.
FIR is
I've
is
got
wrong,
hundreds
sir,
of
with
videos
relation to Karoli Territory.
In Khargone,
Sir,
Muslims, only Muslims,
sir,
homes were targeted,
sir,
and they were bulldozed.
Sir,
What
are you seeing? What are you seeing on your screens?
See,
Mr. Varis Pathan, 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 Hindu homes, one second, let me just come in here. Mr. Varis Pathan, just a month back, a Mahant's home was also bulldozed because it was illegal. Are you trying to make out a crackdown by the law and order, machinery of the state as a communalism? One second, let me finish. See, you can't speak over me. If you are going to constantly speak over me, Mr. Varis Pathan, if you are going to constantly speak over me, are you going to speak over me to drown out the voices? I am the Sutradhar today, sir.
I would allow you to spread lies and canards.
Mr. Varis Pathan, I am the Sutradhar of voices that have not been heard, and those voices belong to Durgesh Pawar, to Paru and Anita, who have gone on record risking life and limb to tell the truth.
What about the voices of Salman?
One minute. Are you denying that this has happened? You cannot deny this has happened. It's on television. Now I want to open this up further. Varis Pathan says, Sanju Verma, Varis Pathan comes out and says that, listen, you are part of a larger conspiracy to try and demonize a particular community when they actually are the victims. How do you respond to him?
You know, Rahul, quite appalled, though I'm not surprised, at this constant endeavor to peddle the victimhood narrative. You know, India is perhaps the only country where the second largest community continues to enjoy the benefits under being a minority, and yet accuses a country with 80% Hindu population of adopting a majoritarian approach. I just want to say one thing. You know, this whole narrative that Mamaji has now adopted this bulldozer tactic, much on the lines of what Yogi Adityanath has been doing, is illegal. Because I heard Asaduddin Owaisi on your channel yesterday, where he said that, bulldozing the houses of miscreants who destroyed public property is not something that is bona fide under the So, Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi, through Rahul Shivshankar's program, if you're listening, let me tell you, India is a signatory only to Protocol 3 of the Geneva Convention. India is not a to Protocol 1. India is not a signatory to Protocol 2 of the Geneva Convention. To break it down in simpler terms, it simply means that any human rights violation within our own country, it is we who decide which law of the land is going to be applied. We are not going to be dictated terms by the Geneva Convention. And Rahul, quickly, I'll just say one thing. You know, rather than generalizing stuff, I want to say one simple thing. Prevention of Damage to Public Property Act of 1984 actually had, very lenient provisions. Yes. It was then that set up a committee in 2007 under the aegis of Fali Nariman and retired Judge K.T. Thomas. And they both gave a very important recommendation which your audience should know. It says that where there is destruction of public property, the respective state government, the respective state police under Section 3 and 4 can take suo moto action against the perpetrators, suo moto action against the culprits, suo moto action against the aggressors. So this whole drama, मैं डरा हुआ मुसलमान हूँ, नहीं जी आप बिल्कुल डरे हुए नहीं हो. FIR in Khargone has been filed against more than 200 people. I have been on a few debates in the last 48 hours where I have been asked, why is it that all the 89 who are arrested are Muslims? because all the 89 who indulged in violence in Khargone from their homes simply for celebrating Shobha Yatra or
Okay.
Shaurya Yatra
Let me
happened
also
to
say,
be Muslim.
let me also say, one
Happened
second.
to be
Let me also
Muslim.
say, okay, let me step in here. Viewers, as I told you, the facts on the bulldozing are yet to be established. There's a due process. Notices were served for illegal constructions. Were they responded to or not? Were they scrutinized or not is not known. I'm not going to go into that right now, but the fact is, viewers, there is a young boy, Shivam, who's battling for his life, who put a bullet through his head or through the head and the chest of a police officer. No one knows. How those weapons like swords came into the hands of the locals, no one knows. But clearly, viewers, a spontaneous riot doesn't metamorphose into a talwar and tamancha wielding mob. Think about it. It takes time to assemble these weapons. And if they are in people's homes, the first question is, why are they in those people's homes? What were they intending to do with those weapons? Dr. Ranganathan, I want to come out to you. How do you see this?
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. First of all, congratulations to Waris Pathan Saab, that the man from his party who said, and I quote, कि अरे हम तो 20 करोड़ हैं, वो 100 करोड़ हैं, लेकिन 15 मिनट के लिए पुलिस हटा दो, फिर देखना कौन किस पे भारी पड़ेगा, unquote, has been acquitted of all charges. It is a great day for justice in our country. Can I come to this topic now? Rahul, we have seen the exodus that happened in Kashmir, we did nothing. We saw the Hindu exodus that happened in Kairana, we did nothing. And we are now seeing the exodus that is happening in Khargone and Karoli, and we are going to do nothing. This will keep on happening. But there is much to say on the Ram Navami violence that has transpired around India, much to apportion blame, much to comment on the reasons behind why these things have been happening for a century, so much so that they were even commented upon by Dr. Ambedkar. But everything pales into insignificance, Rahul, at the tragic news of Shivam battling for his life. I saw the photo of him that you've just shown. A slender 16-year-old lying on a hospital bed, surrounded with tubes and medical equipment. What was his fault? That he was taking part in a Shobha Yatra on what he thought was a joyous day. Rahul, we live in a deeply polarized world, yes. But we never sit back to think why we are polarized, what spews hate, what begets intolerance. I don't understand this. This fear to discuss, this trembling while saying what should be said. Why the selectivity? For every Hindu procession that passes by a mosque and blares music, there is a Muslim procession that passes by a temple and blares music too. But we are offended by only the former. You find Jai Shri Ram provocative, but Deen ke Gaddar Bulao Ali ko not provocative. Why? For every act of bigotry, hate crime, intolerance committed by the Hindus on Muslims, there is a similar act committed by the Muslims on Hindus, but we highlight only the former. Why? The recent Delhi riots, where both Hindus and Muslims took part, where both Hindus and Muslims got killed, were still labeled as an anti-Muslim pogrom. Why? I'll tell you why. It is because we live in a world where you believe what you see. But unfortunately, what you see is written and spoken by those who see what they believe. Objectivity has become that metallic object that must be left behind before you pass through the electronic threshold. The biases don't beep anymore, Rahul. There is awful truth in the fact that there are many more Shivams, and there will be, because while what transpires through religious strife or conflict is a matter of debate in a studio, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be. After all, religion and its primary endowment, which is intolerance, must be discussed and debated. But let's be honest tonight. We are not suffering. Shivam is. We haven't been shot in the head. Shivam has been. We have lived a good chunk of our lives already, Rahul. Shivam's whole life was ahead of him. All those dreams, those aspirations, they lie now alongside Shivam on a ventilator too. Just 10 seconds, Rahul. When will we realize that religion forms the strongest bond, but it is the weakest adhesive? When? But as I said, all this is for another day. Tonight, my thoughts are for Shivam. I hope and pray that he wins this battle. It is important that he does.
Rizwan Ahmed, you heard Waris Pathan who's playing the victim card. What do you make of it, sir? I just want to ask you. You might be offended by the procession, the Ram Navami procession going past your mosque. But does that give you license to come out with swords and tamanchas and shoot?
Well, why
sure. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.
You are just showing the my sympathy is with him.
You did say that, sir. You said that. आपने तो शुरुआत ही की थी झूठ से. You started with lies by saying that they were provocative ganas that were bajaued outside the various mosques, and that has led to this. Can you believe it, viewers? On national TV today, a responsible spokesperson of a political party who is today congratulating himself because the judiciary and perhaps the prosecution couldn't get its act together and put their leader in the place where he deserves to be. Viewers, now I'll tell you something. Will he congratulate? Will he congratulate tomorrow the Kapil Sharmas of the world? Will he congratulate others who have? No, 1 second. Will he? No, 1 minute. Don't shout over me, sir. Stop shouting over me. Stop shouting over me, sir. I am speaking in the context of two stories. Karoli. 1 minute. 1 minute. Aap cheeke na. Your unverified videos will not cut mustard here, sir. Stop shouting. Put his fader down. You know. He's so buoyant because in this country, hate mongers get such a wide berth. He's so buoyant. This is not acceptable. Mr. Pathan, not acceptable. Stop shouting. I'm not shouting over you. I'm not trying to put you down. I'm only trying to put into perspective what you began by saying. But I want to go to Rizwan Ahmed and I want to ask him. Waris Pathan says almost like, let's justify violence because one side got offended by some slogans. Even if those slogans were right, does that mean that we should resort to violence?
Yeah. May I?
Please.
Yeah. May I? Jai Hind, Vande Mataram. Before I start, I also thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for exonerating Narendra Modi 18 years back of Gujarat riots by the SIT created by Supreme Court and monitored by Supreme Court. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala आपका लाख लाख शुक्रिया कि आपने नरेंद्र मोदी को बेगुनाह साबित किया. Number 1. Number 2. As far as provocation goes, what can be a bigger provocation than Shaheen Bagh blocking roads for 4 months, main road? By this yardstick, Kapil Misra should have barged where the dharna was taking place with 50,000 people. And number 2, today Waris Pathan has justified the Gujarat riots, which were an aftermath of the provocation of Godhra, where 56 innocent people were burnt. The same provocation a person can get when a Jummah namaz is offered on the roads. Are we a community of humans? Are we a अरे वारिस पठान इधर देखो, तुम सुन रहे हो मुझे, इधर देखो. Are we a community of humans or we are a community of popcorn?
अगर तुमको सच सुनने की आदत नहीं है, मुझे बोलना नहीं. सच सुनने की आदत रखो. पहला मैं बोलूंगा फिर तुम बोलो. राहुल शिवशंकर को पहला बोलो, पहला मैं बोलूंगा फिर आपको बोलने देगा. हंस चल हंस.
Rahul, he is being very rude. Pathan sahab, why are you
the whole idea is,
please don't be so rude.
No,
but what do you expect?
The whole idea is, Rahul,
to make my point. You cannot expect. What do you expect from Rahul Shivshankar?
The whole idea is, Rahul.
What do we expect from you, sir?
The provocation.
What do we expect from you, Mr. Pathan?
Allow me to make my point.
You are not making your point, sir. You are shouting other people down on a show. You are insulting them. You are insulting everybody. You are shouting people down. You are not letting others speak. You are behaving like a bully on a show. And sorry, no, 1 second. And I'm sorry, Mr. Waris Pathan, that is not going to be tolerated. So we're just going to lower your fader because you don't know how to debate in a gentlemanly way. Just lower his fader. There's no point. Look at this person.
Okay, thank you. Now, Rahul, the question is that provocation can be sudden, and okay, for the sake of argument, I concede that there was provocation. So provocation can be sudden. But can thousand and thousand of stones on the roof can also be sudden? This means that the people there knew that some procession will pass from here, this route, and they were more than eager to be provocated, more than eager. And as I tell, my community behaves as if we are not humans but popcorns. The moment you give us some heat, we start popping out of our pants.
Okay, well.
And people like Asaduddin Owaisi and Waris Pathan, and people like Waris Pathan, and I don't agree with you, Rahul. You said a responsible spokesperson of a political party. He is an irrelevant spokesperson of an insignificant political party. Okay. They are like maggots. They are like maggots.
Well, let's not descend into this. Okay. Well, sir, you might find them insignificant, etc. You might be right in the way you are articulating, but let's not get personal. He's not here anymore. He's decided to walk out of the show after disrupting it. Now, I want to bring in Pankaj Sharma. Mr. Pankaj Sharma, you have heard.
Wherever I am there, these people walk out. Wherever I am there, Rahul, these people walk out.
These people walk out wherever you're there. Okay. Well, maybe it's because you hold up a mirror which reflects a poor image. I don't know. But that is for them now to explain. Pankaj Sharma. Pankaj Sharma, the fundamental question is...
I don't hold a mirror. I hold a shoe.
Okay. Pankaj Sharma. Pankaj Sharma, you've heard Dr. Ranganathan, you've heard others on this panel. How would you like to react?
See, any stone pelting on any religious procession by any community against any section of the society must highly be condemned. Forcefully hoisting the flag of any religion on a place of worship of another religion must also be condemned. You know, both types of things should be handled strictly by the administration, because incidents of this nature are a grave disgrace for the very essence of the composite culture of Bharat Mata. Inciting violence by any group or by an individual cannot be defended.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. In this case, and I want to ask you, if that applies to the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, then it must equally apply to the Chief Minister of Rajasthan.
Yes,
Mr. Gehlot.
So whether it is Karoli or
yes.
Khargone in Madhya Pradesh
yes.
or Muzaffarpur in Bihar,
yes.
all these incidents should be taken seriously. But don't you find it amazing that Shivraj Singh government has arrested 89 persons and bulldozing the houses of alleged culprits, whereas Nitish Kumar government has not arrested even a single person for Muzaffarpur episode. So don't you find it amazing?
You know what I find equally amazing, sir? What I find equally amazing, to echo your sarcasm, is when the government of a Congress-ruled chief minister, allows rioters to run riot,
Yes.
even as their police look on. And I'll show you some videos. These are from Karoli. And the police says, chalo, chalo, bhag jao, ho gaya. It's done. What you had to do is done. There it is. Those are the pictures. I also find it equally amazing when the FIR doesn't mention those who are rioting on camera. I also find it equally amazing, sir, when the Chief Minister of that state blames the Prime Minister of the country for the law and order situation in his own state. Law and order, as you know, sir, is a state subject. I also found it very, very amazing when 10 days after the incident, the prime accused, who is splattered across all videos, and you can see him, Mr. Matloob, who's a Congress ally, is not apprehended. I also find it very amazing when the Chief Minister stops, and this is a particular grouse that the Congress has with the BJP governments, when they stop Congress delegations from going to incident sites. So, I find it equally amazing that a Congress Chief Minister today is stopping a BJP delegation from going to a particular site. It's all very amazing. But it doesn't have to be, sir. If the law is upheld, if people equally condemn, like Times Now does, violence of every shade, it doesn't have to be. Dr. Ranganathan made the point. Everyone is selective.
Yes.
Dr. Ranganathan, yes.
Yes, Rahul, very briefly. And, this is the nub, the crux of the issue.
Crux.
And this is what our society has been subjected to for the last 8 years, selectivity. It is almost as if to project that all these things were happening for the first time. When people realize that, no, this has been happening for decades, then there is a sense of stability that comes in there. Let us solve this. Sir, did I interrupt you? Did I interrupt you, sir?
Yes. These things
Sir,
are
please kindly listen. I was listening very patiently. You, please.
Yes.
So, Rahul, can I please continue?
Yeah, please.
Yes. So what I mean to say is, and let me take the recent example. We know the Hathras tragedy, terrible tragedy. Government, lackadaisical attitude. There were some, obviously misdemeanor also that happened on by the UP government. But that lasted in the media's eyes for 3 weeks. A parallel that happened yesterday, day before yesterday in Bengal, and despicable, deplorable comments by the politicians, the ruling government. It's not even in the news cycle right now. This is what I mean. So what happens is people always think that we are under fascism, we are under this Hindutva nationalism, everything is happening for the first time. There are trends of Muslim genocide happening. The problem is selectivity. If people realize how to tackle intolerance, how to tackle this kind of things that keep on happening, people will not be selective, but that is the tragedy.
Indeed. Viewers, I'm going to move on now. Sorry, the floor is shut now for comments.